Martin, over to you.
Great, thank you so much. Wow, what an amazing introduction from everybody. Thank you. I'm so interested to hear all of our perspectives on drawing, art, sketching, creativity. I love it. So this is going to be a super amazing session. So I want to talk about being the sketching professional. And the reason I get super passionate about sketching is because we have so many ideas locked away in our brains. We have these amazing ideas, they're locked up, and most of the time they come out of our mouth in long, complex string of words. And a lot of people don't work in their first language. I lived in China for 16 years, and I was quite lucky. I could operate most of the time in English. My Chinese is pretty low level, but a lot of people are speaking in a second language, and it's incredibly tiring to articulate yourself and your ideas. And ideas are abstract. They are formed from all sorts of influences and experiences over time, and they float around, and they use a lot of brain energy for us to manage in our heads. And the reason that I love sketching is because it takes the abstract and makes it concrete. And you can put an idea down on a piece of paper like this. Or you can use a Post-it note or a whiteboard or an iPad, an iPhone, a Samsung pad, a Samsung phone, or whatever phone. We have so many ways now of sketching and visualizing. Now, I've said this already, but sketching improves communication, because if you're trying to share an idea like the person on the left, and they're just talking waffle, words. The person listening soon gets tired and is like, what are you trying to say? Has anyone been in that situation where somebody is telling them a complex idea and they just don't know what that person is trying to get to? Whereas if we have a sketch, we can sketch something in 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We can show somebody, speak with more clarity, and then the other person can say, yes, I get it. I understand. Let's move forward. So before we continue, what I'd like now is for everyone to grab a piece of paper and a pen and to sketch a stick figure. You don't have to show anybody, but I just want us to do a baseline sketch now, okay? So let's just spend 30 seconds and just sketch a stick figure. Excellent. So I'm going to keep going, you keep sketching and listening. Now, the other reason that I love sketching is because it allows you to imagine the future. Now, here we have a series of sketches. On the left, we have a sketch from the 1400s, and it was the first recorded sketch of a parachute. In the middle, still in the 1400s, about 40, 50 years later, we have Leonardo da Vinci's sketch of a parachute. And it wasn't until over 500 years later that we actually tested a parachute. So somebody imagined the capability of jumping with a big sack that would help us float safely to the earth. Leonardo da Vinci, one of the world's most creative scientists, artists, explored the idea, but it took 500 years before we really did it. So sketching unlocks the future. When you have an idea, no matter how crazy, you can sketch it. And then it starts to grow. Now, one thing I want to say, in my world, sketching and drawing are two different things. And I think this is a super important distinction to make. Now, I love drawing. I just can't draw very well. And I want you to start thinking of sketching and drawing as two different things. And if I ever use the word draw, I correct myself and say, oops, sorry, I meant to say sketching. Now, on the grand scheme of things, we have amazing artists and drawers like Walt Disney and Picasso and Leonardo da Vinci, and they're on that end of the scale. I'm on the other end of the scale. And the reason I think this is important is because when I was a kid, I really wanted to be able to draw so bad. My grandfather was an artist. My mother was an art teacher. I just loved watching people draw. I just couldn't do it very well. And I had two school friends. One of them is a natural artist, and he's now the head of animation in Hollywood on movies like Paddington Bear, Harry Potter, The Golden Compass. My other friend now paints pictures of birds and sells them for £10,000. And I looked at those guys and I was like, God, I really want to be able to draw. And it took me a long time to realize that actually I can't draw. But the thing is, I never gave up. I just decided that sketching was for me because I had the ideas and I wanted to find a way to visualize them. But in the grand scheme of things, I am not a very good artist. I'm very creative and I embrace visualizing ideas. But in terms of drawing and art, I'm in the lower bottom half. But for me, sketching is about communication. Drawing is about style and ability. And I think there is a clear distinction. Now, a sketch can turn into a drawing, into a painting, into a wonderful piece of art. But a sketch can also just stay as a sketch. And that's where I like to live. And I like to explore the world of sketching. And I invite you into this world. And in the world of sketching, our focus is on communication, not on ability, on style, on judgment, on ratings. Because drawing is instantly rated. Does it look right? Does it look good? Does it look better than that person? Where is it in the grand scheme of things? Whereas communication, if a sketch helps us speak less, then in my mind, it wins. And that's where I spend a lot of my time. So sketching equals communication. Because we have these ideas that are locked up in here, yet if we can put pen to paper, pen to iPad, pen to post-it note, pen to whiteboard, pen to the back of an envelope, and we can visualize our thinking and show somebody, then we can have a shared sense of ownership. We can create better solutions. We can invent the parachute way before we actually jump off the Eiffel Tower. So to me, this is the world of sketching on a whiteboard, collaborating, talking, sharing, making the most basic shapes that help us visualize our problems and our solutions. This is art. This is drawing. I love this, but I don't do it. I respect people that do it. I admire them. I go to museums. I love to look at it. Like, wow, how do you do that? But this is not for me. And another reason that I love sketching is because it's in our DNA. It is what we have been doing forever. So I talk about sketching and pitching. Those are the two of my professional passions. And I believe that the caves are where it all started. In the caves, we did our first sketch. We illustrated the world around us. We visualized the animals we needed to hunt. And that is the world's first ever presentation slide. That is the world's first ever pitch. An entrepreneur was stood in front of a cave, and behind them was the image of a bison, a mammoth, a mountain range, and they were pitching to their community of investors, how do we survive the upcoming season? We need fur, we need fuel, we need meat, we need fat, we need bones. How are we going to do this? And to visualize their thinking and align the community and solve problems, they did a sketch. And I think we were born to sketch. So we've been presenting and sketching and pitching for forever. And so I believe everybody can sketch. And I believe that when you take away the word draw, you release the pressure. Because nobody's worried about how good it is. And some of our comments this evening were like, oh, but I didn't think I was very good. Or I haven't drawn because I didn't think it was very good. Forget that. We're not drawing, we're sketching. And if my sketch helps you communicate, that is a victory. So sketching and pitching, pitching and sketching, from the walls of caves to meeting rooms to Zoom. The reason we do this never changes. The tools we use change all the time. So again, I have a problem. I'm trying to overcome a barrier. I have an idea, but I need to get to a common understanding. How do I do it? I sketch out solutions. Do we go underneath the problem? Do we go over the problem? Do we blow the problem up? If I can show you, you can give your input. You can tell me from your experiences how we can do this together. We can create the right solution to go from how do I communicate to shared understanding. And again, another reason I love sketching is because we sit there lying in bed, trying to keep an idea alive using all this mental energy. We don't get the rest we need. So if you take that idea out of your head onto a piece of paper, you can rest easy and it will grow. Also, if you think about meetings, if you think about people and time, how many people do we have here right now? We have 13 people on this call. We all have an hourly rate. 13 times our hourly rate. This moment is expensive. And it's time and attention we don't get back. How many times have you sat in meetings where people are just sitting there talking, running the clock? Nobody's visualizing anything and all the ideas are just disappearing into thin air. If you can be the person that grabs a notepad, piece of paper, goes up to the whiteboard and starts making visual notes that everyone can see, you will become insanely valuable in your organization and to your customers. So these are some of my first drawings that I could find in my parents' house. This is me, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. I want us to rediscover the child within, the time when we didn't care, we just created. Because I had a tortoise when I was a kid. It was my favorite animal. And my dad drives classic cars. So here I'm seeing memories of what I was experiencing and thinking as a child, with no inhibitions, with no judgment. And that's where I want us to go. And I've spent a long time sketching in notepads. I went to art school. I wanted to be an illustrator. I ended up being a graphic designer. I am so much happier being a graphic designer, a visual problem solver. But I had sketchbooks all over the place. And I have migrated from sketchbooks because they're fantastic, but they're heavy. And now I do everything on my iPhone or my iPad. Now, I'm not about tools. I'm about results. So you can use whatever is comfortable, whatever is practical. Whether it's a sheet of A4 paper that's already got something on the reverse and you're recycling it and you're just brainstorming, or whether you're grabbing a phone using an amazing app called Sketches and you're sketching quickly what you read in social media and then sharing that. So my strategy at the moment on LinkedIn is to read people's posts. When I see something that inspires me, I do a sketch and I put that sketch in the comments. And people can see their ideas and I get amazing responses. People say, wow, did you just create that? I'm like, yes, you inspired me. I want to show you how I see your ideas. And I recommend this is a fantastic way to engage with people on social media because you're doing something visual, emotive, unique. It talks a lot about who I am, but it really connects with the person who had that idea. Now, I sketch a lot on the iPad. I do a lot of sketching workshops. I teach people how to sketch. And the one thing I say is forget the stylus, use your finger. The stylus is a lovely tool, but it's just a thing you have to manage. You've always got your finger within arm's reach, and it is the perfect sketching tool. And again, it takes us back to our childhood, finger painting, tactile, movement. Now, I taught this lady, the leader, to sketch. She was sketching privately in a book, and her sketches were anxious and nervous and self-conscious. And I showed her the things I'm about to show you. She started sketching every day, her quotes, her ideas. She's a mindfulness coach. She put a sketch a day in social media. She was approached about doing a book because people saw the power of her visuals, and all of her related marketing material, communication material are her sketches. You can see that she's got these very simple characters, and she communicates her thinking with quotes and writing and sketching. So it's an incredibly powerful tool to bring to your profession. So that's the framework. I hope I've convinced you of the positioning of sketching. Now, I don't want to seem as a drawing hater. I love drawing, but I just want to take away the pressure of being able to draw. So how can we move forward? We've already sketched a stick figure. Could you sketch me another stick figure? Hopefully, what I've just been talking about has released some pressure. I've shown you lots of visual examples. Everything I've shown you tonight so far has been a sketch I've done. Fast, slow, detailed, not detailed, super simple. Just sketch another stick figure. With no inhibitions, with no judgment. Just release the idea. Excellent. Now, how can we have more confidence as we sketch? Let's talk about Lego. Let's think about Lego. Now, maybe we can just unmute for a second and people can describe Lego. Tell me what Lego represents to you, what it can do, what are its functions and features?
Possibilities.
Possibilities, absolutely, fantastic.
It's limitless.
Limitless, yeah.
Modular.
Modular, wonderful.
Fun.
Sorry?
Fun.
Fun,
It's fun.
absolutely.
It's a framework.
A framework, yeah, wonderful.
Colorful.
Colorful, yeah.
Creative.
Creative. It's wonderful, isn't it? I mean, the list goes on. There is no end to the one. That's why Lego is still insanely popular and productive and successful and creative. So Lego is building blocks as well. And you have units. It's modular, as somebody describes. You can build anything you want. You can follow the instructions, or you can say, screw it, I'm going to create whatever I want. Now, that's Lego. Let's think about writing. If I want to write, there's the ABC. I put the ABCs in the right order and I can create words. And if I want to play a musical instrument, I can follow the musical notes from Mozart and Beethoven from hundreds of years ago. Creativity can be reproduced perfectly. And if I'm into maths and physics and chemistry and equations and economics, I have numbers and I have plus, minus, divide. I have all these symbols that help me create solutions. Sketching is exactly the same. And in sketching, we have the visual alphabet. So we're going back to Lego right now. And I want to show you now the 12 symbols of the visual alphabet. With these 12 symbols, you can sketch anything. These are the building blocks to creativity. We're not drawing, we're sketching. And with these 12 symbols, in different sizes, proportions, ratios, sequence, we can create whatever we want. The more familiar you get with the visual alphabet, the more you can embrace the visual world. So if we walk through them very simply, and let me just get me out of the way. Get this bigger. Okay. So here's Tiny Martin. So the reason the visual alphabet is so amazing is because it starts from the most basic. So it starts with a dot. I'm just going to put my, imagine in the caves, prehistoric communities. Somebody's really good at throwing the spear, somebody's really good at running, somebody's really good at making fire, and somebody's really good at sticking their finger in pigment and sticking it on a wall and moving it around so it creates bison and buffalo. So the first thing you do is stick your finger in the pigment and go, you make a dot. Or you take your pen and you make a dot. That's the first symbol. The second symbol is what happens to that dot when it moves. It creates a line from top to bottom, from bottom to top, from left to right. It goes in a straight line. The third symbol is what happens when that straight line wants to change direction on an angle. So each symbol is an evolution of the one before it. So if we're going to go up and change on an angle and come down, the opposite of that is a curve. And if you're a prehistoric community, that's the hill, that's the rainbow, that's the sun going down behind the horizon line. And then if we're on a curve, but we don't want to go back to where we started, parallel line, we might go on a spiral and the curve goes in on itself. And we've seen that in nature. And then if we're going to do the opposite of that, it's not going to go in on itself, it's going to go underneath itself and find a way to keep going. That's the loop. And then we see on the bottom line, the oval, the circle, the moon, the sun, all the shapes we see in nature, the pupil of the people we're talking to in our community. And then we see their eye shape, which is also like an egg or a kiwi. It's a circle, but it's not perfect. It's slightly deformed. And then we go back up and we look at the angle and we've got the triangle. So it connects itself. And then if we add one more point to the triangle, we have the square, the rectangle. And if we put the triangle and the square together, we get the house, which is also shelter. And then we have clouds, we have abstract, we have imagination, dreams, we have the unformed. I love the visual alphabet because it unlocks everything. If you look around you now, you'll see all of these lines around your environment. And the more that you practice and master these shapes, the more you can start to get control of your visual ideas. And the rest of it is basically practice. The more you practice, the better you get. It's like learning a language, learning to cook, getting fitter, eating healthier. Consistency is what makes a massive difference. So if we go back to a stick figure and we kind of go, a stick figure is really 3 symbols from the visual alphabet. There are 12 in total, but I can create a stick figure with only 3. A circle, an angle, and a line, maybe a curve. Now I want you to go back and draw another, sketch another stick figure. So we should have sketched 3 by now. But sketch your stick figure with the knowledge of the visual alphabet. Excellent. Now, a lot of people feel pressure because they go, oh, I can't draw. I can't even draw a stick figure, which is like one of the simplest things we should be able to draw. Okay, so let's forget that. Let's talk about sketching it. Now, this is what most stick figures look like when people do them. Big watermelon head, the body's too long, the arms are too short, the legs are kind of squat and all over the place. So, a little bit of rule of thumb. We are generally, on average, our head times 5 or 6, maybe 7. So if we start to look at the size of our head in relationship to the rest of our stick figure elements, we can get a lot more control. So if you now sketch out a series of lines so that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parallel lines, roughly the same width between each line. And then you sketch the head between the first set. And then the body goes down roughly 2. So you've got 3 of the lines have elements in. And then the arms come in. And they sort of have a little bit of a curve to them, and they're sort of just gently by the side. And then you add a leg, and again, the leg is double. It's the same width, same length, same height as the torso. That's twice the head. Our stick figures now are sort of more proportional, more in control, more relation, more. They look more. They don't look more real, but they're not confusing. I'm not using any brain energy to go, is that a person? You're going, that's a person. Instantly, I am right there. And unfortunately, it's a guy. So how does that become a woman? We change the form slightly. So again, you know, we might change the shape. Now, this is iconographic visuals. So we sketch one element and it's a man. And then how do we sketch it differently to see that it's a woman? We might change part of the shape, part of the proportion. But now we have more control because we're trying to have a head and then a torso twice the height of the head, and the legs, again, twice the height of the head. So we're getting a little bit more control. Now, if we look at these, and we can now read the visual alphabet coming out of these sketches. If we look at the character on the far left, like thumbs up, is that person old or young? Young? Old. Oh, my back. Oh, my position. Oh, I've got a walking stick. Oh. And then the person in the middle, they had a drink? It's the same core elements. And then the person picking up the box, is that box heavy? Are they actually in the right lifting position? If anyone's done health and safety, should have a straight back, shouldn't they? Should be lifting from their knees. All of these elements are the same core elements of the visual alphabet. They are just positioned and curved in a slightly different way, and it tells us a massive story. So we're going to run through the rest of it. I'm just going to blast through some examples. I want you to start seeing the variation, and then we'll have 10 minutes for discussion. So here we can see 100 poses. We can see yoga, we can see sports, we can see elderly, young, excited, frustrated, day to day. We can see everything. Now, if you notice, when I sketch characters and other people sketch them, sometimes we don't include eyes, because eyes are incredibly expressive. So I don't give my characters eyes. I just give them expressions. They're either happy, sad, or neutral, because eyes are just another thing you have to manage. And the slight change of position or height or angle can give us emotions and feelings that we're not trying to share. Again, here we've got jumping, bounding, leaping, dancing, springing. And again, the lines are fluid, but they are the core elements of the visual alphabet. Here again. And again, this can evolve. So from a really simple stick figure, we can have more of a filled in body type. So that is the sketching professional. That is what I want you to take away from tonight, is that sketching is not drawing. And when we feel that sketching is not drawing, we realize we can sketch, because our goal is to communicate, our goal is to connect, our goal is to grow ideas. It's not to go, oh, do you think it's any good? It's about saying, what should we do next? So that's me done. I would love to connect with you guys on LinkedIn. It's the only social media platform I use. So this is my QR code. So if you have a phone, you can take a picture of it. It should see the QR code and take you to my page. Or I'm Martin Barnes, crocodile wrestler. I think I'm the only crocodile wrestler on LinkedIn at the moment. I haven't double checked, but please connect. And that's it. So let's have questions.
Well, we have time for questions. We have time for questions, discussion. Who's got a question for Martin or a comment on the topic? Fire away. Any thoughts from the session? And I'm going to change the view back to everyone.
Very interesting. The distinction between sketching and drawing. Never ever thought about it personally, but now it makes a lot of sense. Very, very good.
Excellent. Thank you. And would you consider yourself? How did you feel about drawing before?
Wouldn't ever rate myself as being able to draw, but I do recall when I was living in Bulgaria, going to a store where nobody could speak English, and I wanted a part for for the sink. I think it was a plumbing part, and I drew a sketch, and immediately they were able to help me. So, yeah, never thought at the time of the concept, but yeah, brilliant.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Warren, did you want to come in?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I had to jump off earlier, so I wasn't being rude. As I said, a client call, so sorry I had to jump off and come back. But yeah, just to add to that, so I carry this white book next to me, and literally it's all full of drawings. So like when I'm trying to explain something, just throw the stick figures in there and sketch it, and it's very powerful. So I just resonate with it big time. So you're trying to explain to someone the difference between two contrasts and how things come together. It's a really powerful tool.
Exactly. Yeah. Wonderful. Fantastic.
Thanks, Warren. Anyone else?
Yeah, I thought the modular idea was brilliant. So you just had those the small elements, and then you join them all together. That was great.
Excellent. Yeah, no, when you think about it like that, it makes a massive difference. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I really enjoy this. I have a member of my family, my grand uncle. He was one of Norway's best painters at the time, and I have no idea how it does the magician of color. And but I really enjoyed this. I got sort of caught up in my own little stick figure there.
Oh wow.
And so is this blurry or is just
Kind of blurry.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Very colourful as well.
Focus.
Why doesn't it focus? Stupid phone.
I think Zoom knows that it's not a person, and so it's almost trying to.
Oh yeah,
blur it,
I
like
know.
it's your
No,
background.
I know why. If I just turn this off.
There you go.
There.
Oh yeah.
So there's my stick figure.
Ah, yeah, there, yeah.
And
You did this in this session just now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Very impressive.
Yeah,
How big is it?
that's awesome.
3,000 by 3,000 pixels. It's Procreate, which is my favorite.
Oh, okay. I'm using that too.
That was fun revisiting, and so thanks a lot, Martin. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. That's amazing. I mean, if people feel comfortable, it would be amazing to share what you've sketched today.
Who's up for that?
Just take a photograph, stick it in the group chat, or take a screenshot.
Let's do that.
Oh wow, awesome, Andrew.
This is my favorite one, I think. Yeah. All together. Who's up for it?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll turn up my screen brightness.
There you go.
Do a screenshot.
Excellent.
Why crocodile wrestler?
Why am I crocodile wrestler? It's a great question. That's what I do
Symbols.
every day. These are my two crocodiles, and it's what it feels like being the father of 3.5-year-old twin girls.
Understood.
Can I ask a question? So I was thinking, I really love the underlying idea sketching over drawing, because I've totally got that. I don't think I'm artistic in a drawing sense. But what I'm really thinking is, how can I incorporate sketching into sort of my everyday life? Because I'm starting to think, if I could incorporate it into my life every day, it could make a really tangible, not just about like the next startup idea, but to the sort of the tangible difference it could make if you could sort of, if you had a daily sketch or something. I mean, I'm always thinking of trying to think of things that way anyway. But is there a way to do that monthly or daily, or how could we? Because it seems important. Like, it's a great way to express yourself, and a great way when you are trying to think of something more creatively, to do it in that graphical way as opposed to the written form. And I'm definitely not graphical, I feel. So I'm just wondering if there's a way that you could think of it as a thing you do as a routine.
Yeah, absolutely. What you want to do is, like with any habit, you want to remove all the friction to being able to do it. So whether you invest in a book and a nice pen, or you download an app to your device, or you have a whiteboard, or you start buying Post-it notes, like whatever the tool you choose, there is no tool hierarchy. It's like whatever. But whenever you have an idea, you just sketch it out. And keep it private at the beginning. And then once you're feeling like, I want to show somebody, the next time you have an idea, or you're collaborating, or you're working with somebody, if you approach them and just say, hey, can I show you an idea? And they'll be like, yeah. And you say, here, what do you think of this? This is what we're trying to achieve right now. And they'll be like, did you do this? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, wow, that's really cool. And then they'll get over the fact that you spent time to take an idea out of your head and visualize it. They'll look at it, they'll get it, and they'll be on to the next step. And you'll get to a solution so much quicker. You'll both look to each other and go, did that really just happen? And you just did it. And if you're in a work context and you're in a meeting and there's a whiteboard next to you, don't say anything, just stand up, grab the whiteboard, and just start writing what people are saying. And visualize a mind map in front of people. And they'll stop talking and look at you. And you'll go, yeah, come on, we're almost there. And then they'll speed up again. And then you'll fill the whiteboard. You step back, you take a photograph, and then you clean it. And then you send everybody that photograph. They leave a meeting with an incredibly tangible outcome. And they can see their contribution.
Yeah.
And compared to other meetings, other meetings are garbage, because people just spend time waiting to talk to each other. Yeah. Nobody writes anything down. You leave the meeting and you're kind of like, well, I'm going to wait for that person to say something.
Yeah, totally.
So just integrate it, and it will find its place, because it's so simple, it's so intuitive, and people will be like, right, we need you back in our meeting, because I'm not ready to do that yet, because I haven't made the mindset shift. Then you're called into meetings, and then they get more and more senior.
I love it.
And you,
yeah. Okay. I'm super conscious of time always. Does anyone have a final takeaway, comment, or thought they want to share? It's the last chance before we wrap up. Yeah, John, thumbs up. Okay. Great. So Martin, thank you very much. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
Time just ridiculously flies, as always. Thank you very much, Mind Barnes. Do share your details in the chat if you want to make sure but you have to save the chat, because I don't share it anywhere else. If you want to make sure you're connected to everyone. Follow the peer space, of course. Martin, sorry, what's the best way for people to stay in touch with you or follow you, or what's the
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn. Okay, so make sure if you put
Crocodile Wrestler. Martin Barnes, Crocodile Wrestler. You will find me on LinkedIn. You can double check it's me, because there's hundreds of sketches in my feed.
Brilliant.
So please connect.
I would also recommend following Martin, because he's very animated and graphic and videos and all kinds of things happening. So I strongly recommend it. And go to the pitch club as well. I just want to say it's amazing. If you've got anything to pitch, anything, not even a business. Follow the peer space. The best way is on LinkedIn. We do this every 2 weeks, something like this. I've got speakers lined up, but I'm open to hearing other speakers, or as you saw, it can be quite interactive. It's almost like a seminar. Or it can be more like a TED talk with a discussion. And our next speaker in 2 weeks is Clay Planter, who's founder of Street to Boardroom. I was actually involved with him at the beginning as sort of part of the founding team. And that's all about, as a Bristol-based guy, and it's all about getting people that basically haven't had all the advantages in the world into the boardroom from the street kind of thing. That's the idea. And he has this amazing inspirational business that he's built over a few years. And I was there helping him at the beginning. So it's a wonderful thing. And he's going to come and talk about his thing. And we'll have a chance to discuss and question him. But as I said, so do come to that in 2 weeks, 6 p.m. UK time. And if anyone else is interested in speaking or knows a good speaker that might want to come and speak here, that would be great. It's 30 seconds past the hour. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming along, and hope to see you all again. And yes, appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much,
Everybody.
Niall. Good, guys.
Seeing you all the best.
Guys.